Hey everybody, welcome back to our podcast, Road to Rocktapussy. We are back in our backyard.
In the exact same clothes.
Well, it's because we're just shooting these back to back. But we're releasing them,
Next week.
next week. Yeah. So
Yeah. So we figured that we would tell you guys stories about Dark Rising, all of the stuff that it took to do Dark Rising 2 and Savage Tales, because we kind of touched on Dark Rising 1 on one of our podcasts, and we're like, you know what? We've got tons of stories from Dark Rising, so I think it would be
I got to
interesting.
remember those stories. That was a long time ago.
I know, I'll jog your memory.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, let's talk about how we sort of created this franchise, because Dark Rising was really, to us, the thing that got our career off the ground. Like it was a franchise that we made happen, I think, in a lot of ways. So once Dark Rising 1 was finished and released, we didn't think anything was going to happen from it because it was a small, low budget indie sort of, you know, quirky little film. And next thing we knew, people were really liking it, and it was selling internationally in the U.S. and Canada and all over the world. And we're like, oh my God, there's an opportunity here. Let's make a sequel. And so in order to do that, we had to find money. And so I was like, well, Super Channel is showing Dark Rising 1. So let's talk to them about doing Dark Rising 2 and Savage Tales. So we struck up a meeting with a lovely man there, Justin Ribello, and went to a coffee shop. And I was like, hey, and I remember.
I always love your descriptions of people.
Lovely.
He's a lovely man.
He's a lovely man. He was a lovely man. I don't know. Anyways.
She's just, when you meet people and you learn who people are. My wife is one of the nicest people on the planet. And I'm not just saying that because she's sitting right next to me. I mean, she loves people. I don't understand it all the time, but he was a lovely man.
He was a lovely man. And then he stopped talking to us for some reason. I'm not sure why. If one of the projects really...
Probably us.
It was probably us. Yeah. At some point, he stopped returning my calls. I don't know. Anyways, maybe I'm not lovely. But so we met with him, and I was like, look, I've got this TV show for Dark Rising, and I've got this sequel. I would love to do them both with you guys and whatever. So he came back with an offer. And I remember like the first pitches to broadcasters, we had made huge packages, and we talked about these packages about how, like, I don't know, they were like 20 pages with marketing plans and all of this
20
stuff.
pages. Our medium raw package was like
100
100 pages long, and it was like in detail about everything we knew about the film industry.
It was crazy.
100 pages.
Man, we spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
It was like detailed research of... Anyways, on this one, I had a page. It was one page. And it basically said, episode 1, 2, 3, there was a couple sentences. I'm going to make it for approximately this budget, and this is how much I would like to make it for. And he said yes. It was just like the right time in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it was at that time where Dark Rising was doing well. They were looking for Canadian content.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the right time.
It was the right time, yeah. But given they gave us, at the time, we felt it was low. Right now, if we could get these deals, we would be through the moon. He offered us $96,000 for the TV show, and $90,000 for Dark Rising 2. And that was just one window, pay television in Canada. Rest of the world, everything else open. And I remember coming back to the company we were working with at the time with like these deals, and he was like, wow, that's really low. And I was like, no, it's pretty good, because now all we need to do is find a little bit more financing. And that's when I applied to the NOHFC, and it all kind of came together. Now, so we ended up having $1 million to do Dark Rising 2 and Savage Tales together back to back. And in my little mind, I was like, we could totally do this. It's going to be amazing. We're going to go to North Bay. We're going to shoot this thing. It's going to be awesome. So we had very little money. So we packed a few people up, and we decided that we were going to build all of the sets ourselves. So, and when I say all of them ourselves, I mean like Andrew building with Jimmy and your brother. So we found a space in North Bay. It was like a 2,000 square foot space. And then it had a condo up above. So we're like, great. We packed up mattresses, and everybody crashed on the floor of this loft for months. And Andrew and his brother and Jimmy and Jim Peacock started building the Dark Rising sets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty
That's
much
that's what we did.
sums that up.
And then we were about to shoot. So now we get our cast together and we're like, oh, this is amazing. We were bringing back anybody that saw Dark Rising 1. People love Ricky, right? Ricky is played by Christian from WWE. And we're like, perfect. He dies in, oh, sorry. Spoiler alert. He dies in Dark Rising 1. So Andrew's like, I'm going to write him in Dark Rising 2 as Rocky, Ricky's twin brother, and he's going to wear a T-shirt where it's like, "Have you seen this face?" And it's a face of himself. Anyways,
I thought it was funny. I mean, having a twin brother with a "Have you seen this man?" with the
Yeah,
of his dead twin brother.
it was brilliant. It was gold.
Thanks, Beck.
Yeah, and then I think it was maybe 5 days before we were starting to shoot, we get a call.
Well, on Dark Rising 1, Christian was with TNA Wrestling, and they were a little more lax with what their talent could do. So with Dark Rising, it was great to have Christian come on board. He wanted to learn the ropes, and I was a wrestling fan, so I was able to write a character for him that I knew he could pull off. So with Dark Rising 2, we were all about going forward, but Christian had re-signed with the WWE at the time, and they were a little bit more like you had to go through the process. So the entire time, Christian had assured me we were going to make it work. And then it was about a week before we were starting shooting. He's like, here, just contact this guy at the WWE. And I remember the legit email was no.
Just no.
Just no. It was just NO.
And I'm like,
I'm not exaggerating. It was, my email was like, I've been in touch with Christian, and, this is the sequel, and, we've had this relationship. We're just wondering if we can make this work. No.
Yeah. And
I want to get to a position where I can send emails with just no. That would be amazing.
It would be a little bit rude, though. You'd want to just like, hey, I hope you're having a good day. No. I think that would help the blow.
Again, you're a great person. I hope you're having a great day.
No. So we were like, oh, wow, this is a real big problem because we can't push this. Like, we are shooting in a week. So Andrew, who is a brilliant writer, thank God, rewrites the whole thing. Just the whole thing. And decides
you can't use adjectives and just like willy-nilly like that. Look, I am an adequate writer. I can do the job. So the job was that we had to change the character of Ricky into another character. And so I went through and pulled out every reference of his twin brother. And I still needed that sidekick Ricky type role. So I made the character of Bulo. And it really came up in like 5 days, just trying to, change a bit of Rocky's lines into Bulo, but we had to cast as well. We had to cast someone really funny, and we had done all our auditions. Everyone was cast except for this part, and it was really Jimmy Martins, our executive producer, and one of my good friends at the time. He knew this actor named Mike Nagnargang, and they're like, Andrew, you gotta take a look at this guy. And he showed me some clips, and I was like, we're shooting in like 3 days now. And I looked at the clips, and I was like, great, he's cast.
Do you ever notice how often Jimmy saves the day?
Jimmy, I recommend a Jimmy for every set.
Don't take ours though.
No, he's ours. So yeah, it was the character of Bulo was really cast, that quickly. And Nug came up and did such a fantastic job. Had us laughing pretty much the entire time. But I mean, that's the thing with independent films as well. It's you have to adapt.
You have to adapt so much. Like even things like by the time we were shooting, we were up north and we didn't think about this, but it got cold. It was like September.
Well, we did think about it. We just here's the other thing. Planning is always
snow.
We had planned to shoot in the summer.
Yeah.
So initially the wedding sequence at the beginning was supposed to be at the summer, but by the time we actually ended up finishing the build and everything moving forward, it was October.
Was it? Yeah, it was
late
October.
October.
Yeah, okay.
Which
and so,
up north is already getting cold.
Yeah, it was cold and it was snowing. So we're like, okay, so first problem, we have to fix this problem because we can't just have everybody outside for 12 hours shooting this sequence.
Did you notice that I cross my legs differently than you cross them.
Oh no, do we do that? We're so in sync. We complement each other.
Yeah.
Um, so we ended up rewriting a few, well, he ended up rewriting a couple lines to say that it's a winter wedding. And so we put everybody in, earmuffs and leggings and all that kind of stuff, except for my character because I'm a demon, so I don't feel cold. So I was the only one that had to tough it through. And I remember putting hot pockets in every single part of my body that was not exposed. So that was one of the issues. Remember the other big issue that happened is so we were shooting Dark Rising 2 first, and then we were going to shoot Savage Tales right after with like a 2-week break or something like that. And we ended up having somebody on our set who is a little bit of a compulsive liar. And
A little bit.
things were disappearing, and anyways, whatever. It caused a lot of problems. And then we found out what was happening and who this person was, and we had to fire them because we're like, oh my god, like you are literally, wrecking things on our shoot. Anyways, so we fired him between both projects, and because he had given us a lead on our wardrobe rentals, he then called the wardrobe rental in Toronto and made some lie up about us. I don't even know what he said, but he said something bad enough that the wardrobe company drove 4 hours the very next day and picked up every piece of wardrobe that we had rented from them. Now we're shooting the TV show in a couple weeks, and we have lost all of our wardrobe.
I like to imagine what he said to them. Hello? Yeah, I'm working for these guys, and I know that they rented a bunch of wardrobe from you guys, and they're going to burn it all.
They're doing a really big bonfire tomorrow night if you don't show.
If you don't come up here right this second, I overheard them say that they're going to take all your wardrobe, put it in a pile, dump gasoline on it, and then light it on fire.
Burn it.
So make the drive and come get your stuff. I'm warning you.
It was crazy.
That's what I like to think that, because honestly, I don't know what he said that got them up that quick. And I remember I'm talking to the wardrobe guy. I'm like, yeah, it's all here, man. It's all here.
Like if you want to take it,
you can take it. You're losing out on the rental fee. And he's like, oh yeah. And I kind of sensed that he knew something was up.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually a pretty nice guy, and I was nice to him, and I couldn't quite understand why he was doing what he was doing, but I was like, hey, no problem. Everything was bagged and ready to go. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, thank you. And I'm like, no, thank you. And it was just one of the most confusing things. And this one guy, there's a lot of issues with him. And in independent films, I mean, you're not working with that many people. And one of the things that we learned was it's okay to let people go. And I think where Brigitte, I always take Brigitte's lead, right? I mean, like I said, she's a good person. She wants people to be happy. She wants people to come on set and feel part of a family. And then when someone's not necessarily doing their job, she'll try to, I'm using third person, you're right here. You will try and make it work. You'll try to not look the other way, but say, well, it's not that bad, or, let's keep going. And one thing we learned is when you're running the ship, it's okay to toss people overboard.
You have to fire them. Even I actually, on the project that we just wrapped, I fired 2 people in the first week. Well, kind of. I made Ryan fire 2 people in the first week. That's why I have an assistant.
That's the other key. It's like you get an assistant to actually do the firing.
I'm like,
that's how she gets around.
I'm like, I can't quite fire somebody, so you're going to have to do it, okay? He's like, done. I love this guy. He's amazing.
So with Brigitte, it's probably more like breaking up with somebody, I guess.
It's heartbreaking.
Where it's heartbreaking. And
because most people are nice, right? Like some of them are actually just trying to do their job. Like they're actually trying. Sometimes they're just not good at it, or it's just not the right fit.
Might not,
or
like
the
attitude's not the right
or the attitude
fit.
doesn't fit into. That's really important. Sometimes it's just the personality doesn't drive with the rest of the team. And although we're doing independent films, we work on a level that's very professional. So everybody that's on set, they're professional, and it should be quiet. And when we're working with the actors, everybody should stop and listen. And sometimes when you're working on these budgets, you tend to hire people that are maybe up and coming, and they don't realize that it's not a party. It's
Yeah, I
work.
mean, it's controlling the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
I know it's low budget and everyone's there trying to have a good time, and you try to keep it because it's low budget. You try to keep the atmosphere light so that everyone is having a good time.
Yeah.
But then, when the nitty gritty happens and you have to get to work, there's also that aspect, and you gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And to be fair, like as soon as we fired the two people on this last shoot, the entire vibe of the film was fantastic. It was great.
So all that to say that we should have fired this guy right from the beginning. He was just bad news, and he was bringing the actors down and whatnot. But you know what? You learn from those.
Yeah.
You know,
And then so then at the other problem that occurred from that is that we ended up only having one makeup artist.
right.
And so lovely girl who's now our sister-in-law and having a baby any day now.
Well, when this podcast airs, she will hopefully have had the baby. So
'cause
congratulations, John and T.
T, yay. But they met on the set of Dark Rising. Anyway, so Christina, who was fresh out of school, had to pick up all of the responsibility of doing the makeup for Savage Tales. And anybody that has seen Savage Tales, that is not an easy task. There are full prosthetics. There are demons. There's one character who literally has an entire face burnt cast. And we were working on like some days we actually shot a 21-page day on that shoot. So the days were extremely long. She had so much responsibility, and it was like we were doing it.
Yeah.
We were making
That
it.
21-page day, I look back, is still one of the best days that I've had on set, just because it was, we actually did some quality work, and it was
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a long haul. A little story. So there was the rumor going on that my brother was, dating Christina at the time, and everyone's like, "Hey, yeah, they're dating." I'm like, "No."
We're like, no,
He would tell me.
of
He would
course.
tell me what.
I was actually trying to push. Like, I love Christina. She's just so cute and sweet and bubbly, and I remember sending John photos of Christina, going, "Hey, look, we're at this rap party, and she looks amazing. You guys should, Had no idea they were already dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after it's like, yeah, we've been dating for a while. I was like, oh,
It was Christmas,
I
and we
see.
were all back in Toronto, and his parents brought us all to like this play dinner thing. And John's date was Christina, and we were like, "What?"
well, I didn't react like that.
I
I just kind of said,
"Yeah."
she was all like, what?
I was very happy. But
Yeah.
now they're married, having a baby.
So, I mean, going through Dark Rising 2 and into Savage Tales, a lot of that was fantastic. I met my director of photography that I use now all the time, Joshua Freeman. He had come on board as my focus puller, and over the course of the project, I would say, "Hey, could you camera op this?" And my shoulder was getting tired, and he was younger than I was, so I was like, "Hey, camera op," and I could see that he could pull his own focus very well, sometimes even better than other focus pullers. "Hey, Peanut, how's it going?" And so we look back at Dark Rising 2 and Savage Tales as probably one of the funnest times ever. It was a lot of work, but we also felt like we were removed from everything else.
We were in this little bubble in Northern Ontario and the town was amazing. The mayor would come on set and hang out, and the city would let us shoot anywhere. It was fantastic. It was such a good vibe. Like we were kids making movies. Like we
living the dream.
Yeah.
As Nug would always say, we're really doing it, guys. We're really doing it.
And looking back, like it was hard in the sense that our crew were good sports. I mean, it was cheaper to rent an apartment than to rent hotel rooms. So we literally rented an apartment that was unfurnished. We brought up, I think, a couple mattresses. They were on the floor. We set them up with a few pots and pans. And that's where they were living for like a couple months. We were sharing our space with some of the actors that were coming in and going. A lot of people were still sleeping on the floor in the loft. Oh my God.
Okay. I have a great story. This has nothing to do with filmmaking, but it's a good story. It was during Dark Rising 2. So we were at a cottage with
Oh,
We were sharing it with Landy Cannon, who plays Jason Parks, a good friend of mine. So it was great to
and
be
any
able.
other actor that would come up, we
Pretty
would
much,
stay. Yeah.
yeah. So we were at this cottage, and we were on our weekend break, and my brother was over as well, and we were all playing Madden on the TV. And we also had another actor there, and this actor likes to celebrate 420, and so they went out on a walk, and smoked up, got high, came back, and we're all playing Madden, and all of a sudden there is a bonfire in the reflection on the TV screen. And I'm like, that's fire inside the cottage. And I turn around and the actor's just looking, and behind the actor is a bonfire on the stove. And I turn around and I yell that actor's name, and I was like, what are you doing? And the actor, like, we put out the fire, and they look and they go, oh, the kettle is an electric kettle,
She would put the electric kettle on the
onto the stove and
stove.
proceeded to heat the electric kettle up, which then went on fire.
That was
So
pretty good.
kids, this is why you don't do drugs, because of things and reasons like that.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So you
She's
know what the
amazing.
thing is like I said, some of the best memories was from that time.
Yeah, it was, and I think we keep making movies because you want to recapture that energy and that fun. And so with Rocktapussy, I think our approach on Rocktapussy will be very much like the Dark Rising feel, where it's like, let's get a bunch of people that just want to make movies, and like, let's have fun doing what we love, because I think it translated. I think part of the reason why Dark Rising was such a success is because you feel the fun. Like, we had fun every day on that
There
set.
was an excitement there too, right?
Yeah.
We were shooting off the Red One cameras. It was new technology. We were building our own sets. We were really just at our own imagination's end, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
so
no limits.
there's no limits there, and I
There was
think
financial limits.
there was financial limits. But going forward, it's always we've always tried to recapture that no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just we find the old saying, you can't go home again. In a lot of ways, it's same. Each film has its own vibe, its own feeling,
Mhm.
and you really can't recapture it perfectly. Which the funny thing is if you watch Dark Rising 2, there is that element of you can't go home again.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, like
what other stories do you have?
from Dark Rising to Savage Tales. I don't know. Oh, well, we have all the Michael Ironside stories. Those are fun. Oh, I'm just gonna tell. Did we tell the story of my aunt yet?
No. I
Okay,
don't think
so on low budget films, again, like, you tend to rope in family members to help you out. So my aunt Claire is amazing. She's a very talented artist up north, and we asked her to do wardrobe. So she's like, oh, cool, yeah, sure, absolutely. And she's like a 60-year-old woman. She's amazing. She's, sweet. And she goes and gets all of the stuff for Michael Ironside, and he flies into North Bay. We pick him up at the airport, and she's going to do his wardrobe at his hotel room the night before we shoot. So she shows up, and I guess she starts laying down. She's like, oh, hi, Mr. Ironside. How are you? She walks in, and she lays down his clothes on the bed, including the hat and the shoes. And all of a sudden, he's like, get out. And she's like, what? And he's like, get out of my room. Get out of my room.
But like in Michael Ironside voice, not in Brigitte's voice.
Yeah, it's much cooler when he says it, I'm sure. It's much more terrifying, too. So anyway, she's like, okay. So she like runs out of his room, and he's like, now turn around counterclockwise 3 times, spit on the floor, and swear. She's like, what? He's like, do it. And so she turns, around, spits on the floor, and swears, and then he lets her back in, and he's like, never put, and I don't know if it was the hat or the shoes.
I think it was the hat.
Never put a hat on a person's bed, because that is wishing them death. And the ritual, I guess, was to undo the voodoo that she had caused him. So it was.
Hey, if it works, I mean, he's still kicking and he's still making great movies. So,
absolutely.
hey, there might be some science involved in that.
Yeah. And then, so anyways, she ends up not, like the wardrobe that we had picked out, I guess, didn't, it was not the right sizes or whatever it was. So then we're like, oh my God, it is Friday night and we have to somehow find these outfits for Michael Ironside in North Bay. So there's only one big and tall store in the vicinity that was open, and it was at the mall. So it was Tip Top Tailor's. So he gets into my aunt's car, and there's a story there about her. She's a driver like me, where sometimes she can get nervous driving with people, and I think she was about to kill him in some way or another. But they made it to the mall, and
Always look at the positives of things. You know, you could have killed Michael
yeah,
Ironside in your car, but
but
you
you
didn't.
didn't. You didn't.
So,
And then he was at the mall, and he was so gracious. Like he ended up, everybody came up to him and they were asking him for his autograph. And what he did is he asked people what their favorite Michael Ironside movie was.
well, they would ask him to sign like a napkin or whatever, and he was like, no, like what, what's your favorite movie or thing that I've been in, and I will send you an autographed photo, and he did. I
Yeah,
mean,
every
so
single person
that's
got it.
yeah, that is just a great, fantastic little thing that he did.
Yeah. And then I think we'll keep the other Michael Ironside stories to ourselves.
Yeah, my Michael Ironside story was a little heartbreaking as a creative person, but let's end it with a good one.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, well, thanks for coming back and listening, guys. We love chatting with you guys. If there's any questions that you have that you want us to answer, we're happy to do it. If there's anything you want to know about filmmaking, please let us know, and we will talk a bit about it on a future podcast.